Welcome to Whisperwood Stories. Today we read 4 stories from r/creepyencounters. Let's begin. Our first story is from meloscav. Followed me to my dorm, then vanished. I live on a college campus, and it's currently almost finals week. I'm an art major, and I've taken to spending nights until 1 to 2 a.m. in the arts building to work on my pieces. That's pretty normal. What isn't is that my dorm is on the whole other side of the campus, and the school shuttles stop running at midnight. I've walked back plenty of times before, because my campus has a lot of lighting, and usually there are people out until about 3 a.m. So on Wednesday, I'd stayed to help my friend with repairing one of her pieces. And around 1:30, I decided to head home since I wasn't feeling well. I head out from the ground floor and stop because I get this major sense of foreboding, which I don't usually get. It just felt entirely too quiet. I also have anxiety, so I just sort of waited for the feeling to pass before walking up the hill, past the administrative building, and towards the road I usually walk down, which is between our nursing and science buildings. This is a downhill slope, which leads directly to a parking deck beside my dorm. I've taken this path a million times before, but as soon as I reach that road, I see someone coming up the path, which at this hour, I almost never see someone heading towards the campus, rather than away. I get this kind of sinking feeling, and I really can't explain why, but I turn around and head up to the main road in between a lot of the buildings that is usually between more dorms. By the time I have my friends on the phone, I needed someone to know where I was. I glanced back and this person was behind me, which prompted me to tell my friends that this person was following me again. I moved to the middle of the road, as only school vehicles are allowed in it, and I wouldn't be hit at this hour. But not even a moment later, I see this person has moved into the middle lane as well. By that point, my friends and I were fully aware I was being followed, and something inside me was screaming that if I didn't get to my dorm quickly, something terrible would happen to me. So I get to the end of the main college road and to the stairs that lead to my dorm. I don't think I've ever run downstairs that quickly in my life, and I ran inside the building and watched from the doors to see if they'd followed me. Nobody ever came down the stairs. I'm still surprised nobody was out, but I'm not staying past the shuttle time at the art building anymore. I don't know if this person was just trying to be funny or actually wanted to hurt me, but I don't want to find out. Our second story is from Rena. Late night encounter. So about 2 years ago, I was visiting my grandma with my mom. My grandma lived in upstate New York. She lived close to a price chopper. It was in the complex directly next to her. It was about a 7-minute walk to get to the exact store. Around 11 p.m., I was really craving certain snacks. So I asked my mom if we could go to the store, and she said yes. We were walking to the store, and with the way we have to come from, you can see the back of the store where the delivery truck would park. Then to get to the front of the store, you can either go through the back and there will be a small opening closest to the price chopper, or you can go past the side of the first store in the complex, and it will bring you to the front of all the stores. The grocery store was about the 4th store in the complex. This is important to the story. So when we were passing where you can see the back of the stores, we saw 3 people, 1 female, 2 males. One of the males was tall and kind of big, and the other one was tall and skinny. We went up to the side of the building towards the front of all of the stores. When we got to the front of the price chopper, the tall and big guy was sitting on the bench next to the price chopper. We go into the store, get our items, and on the way out, we passed the bench and he was no longer sitting down. We got to the end of the last store in the complex, and before we could turn past the side of the building, we heard a woman scream, followed by creepy laughter. This freaked my mom out, so instead of going the way we came from, my mom decided to go through the middle of the parking lot. When we got a couple of feet away, we decided to look back, and the same guy that was sitting on the bench was standing right there in the corner in the back of the buildings. When we noticed that he was starting to walk faster, he started slowly following behind us. When we got to the parking lot in front of my grandma's building, we turned around and saw him crouched down behind a bush, watching us. We ran into the building. You need a code to open the door. While we were waiting for the elevator, the guy was standing outside the glass door, just staring at us. We sent the elevator to the wrong floor, so he wouldn't know where we were going. The most chilling part about everything is that if we didn't hear that scream, we would have passed where he was hiding. We assume he was waiting for us to do who knows what. He knows what direction we came from because he saw us when we were heading to the store. Our third story is from Moist Implement. Stalked as a teenager. In my 37 male teen years, think late middle school to high school, my family had a seasonal site at a campground. I spent most weekends during the summer and a couple of long holidays there. We had a small group of friends, mostly consisting of the other kids of the other seasonal campers, and befriending random one-off campers was not uncommon. One particular weekend towards the end of the season, I met Mike. We quickly hit it off and became really good friends, playing/trading Pokemon on our Game Boys, hanging out at fires, playing some basketball, usually camp stuff. Mike's dad had invited a few family friends for the weekend, including Andrew. Andrew was a couple years older than me. He could drive and had a big van he attached a tent to through the trunk to have what we thought at the time was a pretty sweet setup. For the long weekend, we all hung out. We had an awesome time. Come Sunday, Mike, his dad, and most of their party left. Andrew did not. We hung out a little. He would brag about dirt bikes and ATVs and TVs and other stuff he had an abundance of, and kept implying we should hang out sometime outside of camp. I said, yeah, maybe, or something along those lines. I know that typically, camp friends were never more than camp friends. He eventually went home that Tuesday, and I didn't hear from him after that. He gave me his number. I told him I didn't know mine off the top of my head, but I'd call him. Important for the rest of the story, but Andrew never knew more than my first name. My mom remarried, and I do not have the same last name as her or my stepdad. Fast forward about a year. I'm using AOL Instant Messenger and get a message from someone with the exact same name as me with a number added. After a few reluctant messages, they reveal it's Andrew. A bit off-putting, so I block him. A second random message. Him again. Same name, but increase the number on the screen name. We go through this for about a week. At this point, I had blocked about 8 of his fake accounts. It gets so bad, I create a new profile with a different email, and am sure to not include any personal information, though I'm still pretty sure the original account had none included. About 8 to 9 months go by. No word from him. My family is eating dinner and there's a knock at the front door. My mom calls my name and says I have a friend visiting. It's goddamn Andrew. We politely ask him to leave, and after about 15 or so minutes, he gives in and goes. Then the calls start. First from a number registered to him, which we screened with caller ID. Then restricted numbers, again ignored. Then from random numbers with local area codes. When he does get through screenings, usually from younger siblings, he acts like we are best friends, asks me to hang out, offers me free stuff. I told him to stop calling. He didn't. My mom tells him I moved in with my dad, but the calls kept coming. Eventually, my mom tells him she's going to call the police and things die down a bit. 1 more year passes. Back at the campground, I am walking a lady friend I had met that weekend back to her campsite. And this van pulls up alongside us, and I hear someone call my name. I look over to see Andrew leaning out of his van. We booked it and ran into the small patch of woods and got back to my family's site and tell my mom what's going on. And she flips her lid. She ends up pounding on the campground owner's door, waking them up as it's about 11 p.m. at this point. The police get involved, and he is told to never contact me or show up at my house again. A family staying at the campground came over to talk to my parents the next morning. Apparently, they knew Andrew's parents and told them stories about episodes he would have, and he would need multiple people to hold him down until he would calm down because he would lose control and start acting sporadically, and sometimes violently. I saw him once after that, about 3 years later, driving that very same van slowly out of an apartment complex I had moved into. Nothing came of it, but I know he saw me, and the fact that I never saw him again makes me feel uneasy about what he was doing there that day to begin with. Our last story is from Jiyuuko. My dog may have saved me. This happened a long time ago, about 10 years or so, but I never forgot about it, and it still gives me chills, by the way. I, 33 female, was in my early 20s. At the time, I had a female dog named Nina, a boxer. She passed away when she was 8 from lung cancer. I miss her a lot. Nina was very energetic, so I took her to long walks around the neighborhood, usually at the end of the day around 4 to 6 p.m., when it wasn't too hot but not dark either. One thing you must know about Nina is that she loved people. She did not get along with other dogs, but every time she saw someone walking by us, she would shake her tail and wants to get closer and ask for pets. One day, we went on our walk as usual. Everything was fine for most of it. I saw a few other dog tutors walking their dogs and an old couple sitting in front of their house chatting. And then, when we were alone, Nina suddenly started growling. One thing I didn't mention. I've graduated in biology and specialized in animal behavior. At the time this story happened, I was finishing college. So yeah, I used to pay a lot of attention to my dog's behaviors and had quite a lot of knowledge on dog behavior because it was my favorite subject in the area. Dogs can see movement much better than us, so things like an eyebrow raise or a little tension on the shoulders, they can easily pick up. So of course, a dog growling doesn't sound that weird. Nina did growl to other dogs and cats when she saw them, but this was different. It was very low, and all the fur of her back was up. Her entire behavior was of alarm. And then I noticed. She was looking back while growling, so I looked behind me. In the distance, like a block away, I saw a man. This made me even more alert, because Nina never growled to anyone in the street before. She never stopped walking by my side or tried to pull away, but she kept this low growl and kept looking at this man. I started to freak out and turned the next block. She stopped for a second, but when we reached the next corner, she started growling again. And he was there again. He didn't try to talk or call me, and his expression was serious, kinda emotionless. I kept walking in random patterns, and he was always there. That man was definitely following me. At some point, our distance started to shrink, and Nina's growling was getting stronger. So when I turned the next corner, I just started running while he couldn't see me. I ran about 4 blocks in the direction of an area I knew had more traffic and people around. I stopped to get my breath and looked behind me. He was far away, right in the corner where I started running. Just there, Standing and looking at me, Nina was looking at him, still with her alarmed posture. After a minute, he turned around and went away in the same direction, and at that moment, Nina finally relaxed. I kept paying attention to Nina's behavior the entire way back to my house later, but she was just her normal, happy self. I told this story to my parents and a few neighbors, and no one seemed to know of any man that looked like him. I never saw that man again, and Nina never behaved like that again either. So I'll never know who he was or why he was following me, but I definitely do not regret trusting Nina's instincts. So people, please pay attention to your pet's behaviors as much as you can. It's not about a supernatural sixth sense. They can actually feel, see, and hear better than us. And there's no behavior that happens for no reason. There is always a reason. Stay safe, everyone. Thank you for listening to Whisperwood Stories. If you enjoyed, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe down below. Do you have a story that you'd like me to read here? Consider commenting or sending it to whisperwoodsubmissions@gmail.com. The stories in this video were read with the author's permissions. Thank you again for listening, and be sure to check out the original Reddit posts. Want to support me? Check the link below where you can leave a tip if you wish. And remember, don't let the shadows get too close.